with you on a crowded Monday. It's going to be a lot of stuff happening. It is Monday, October 13th, 2025. Take a picture, get your coffee cup ready. Take a picture with your QR phone of the QR codes. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Got a lot to cover today. Look, if you watched any of the games this weekend or went to them, love to hear your comments in the chat room. We do this every day. This channel is growing. It's booming. There's a lot to cover. We got Dave Bartoo, College Football Matrix, Coach Ellis Johnson over in South Carolina. He has been coaching a while. He's got a national championship ring. Coach Pete Cordelli, Fighting Irish. He will be here. He's got a national championship ring. And Dave, Coach Johnson, Coach Cordelli, Brendan, we're going to have a lot of fun today. I'm just glad I'm not Ken Williamson, the head referee in the Auburn-Oklahoma game and the Auburn-Georgia game. I don't know what's going on, but there's a lot happening. And I'm going to tell you right now, let's
there's a lot happening for sure. And the Gators, I told you, we're not going to win that football game.
Yeah.
No one listens. I think everyone just stop thinking that you know what's going on and stop believing the hype. He does it every year. It happens every single.
Yeah, it's a mess, man. And James Franklin gone at Penn State. We'll talk about it now. The Hour of Power underway, SEC Sideline Sports Network. Gentlemen, welcome aboard. Tonight, y'all give me any questions you want me to ask. Touchdown Club in Memphis. I'm fasting till 1:30 for my physical today, so I'm a little bit lightheaded. But I will be seeing Rich Clark, Executive Director, College Football Playoff Committee, tonight at the Touchdown Club in Memphis at the Hilton on Ridgeway Loop. If you're going or you want to go. It's going to be great. So y'all have questions, just let me know, and I will ask the general. So how's everybody doing this morning?
Great.
All right. Doing great.
Right.
Doing great. Not as good as James Franklin counting 50 million, but I'm doing great, buddy.
59 million. I mean, Dave, first off, from your perspective, we're driving back we did the Atlanta Auburn, a night game at Auburn. We got back to our daughter in Atlanta in Sandy Springs at 3:23 Sunday morning. Man, I'm telling you, that's brutal. You know, if I was going duck hunting, I'd have about an hour and 7 minutes of sleep. All right, Coach Cordelli, and it's just like a law firm, Cordelli, Johnson, and Bartoo. We're going to get started here. Ellis Johnson, were you this weekend? What were your takeaways from what you saw? You watched a lot of games, and we're going through Atlanta Saturday. Traffic packed on Interstate 85 for the Georgia Tech Virginia Tech game. But what were your takeaways from the SEC games that you watched?
Well, I think what Dave mentioned last time we were all on, there's not a lot of balance. But I did think that Texas kind of showed up. And I was a little surprised at that one. I thought Oklahoma would win that football game, especially when Mateer got to play. But you could tell Mateer has not practiced. And that he just made some terrible decisions with the football. But both of them defensively, they're pretty damn good. And I think, I noticed, but coming into this weekend, what SEC quarterback led the conference in being responsible for points?
You told me this sitting in the Nelson Club Saturday night watching the Auburn game, and I'm not going to say it because I know, but I'm curious if
it's Arch Manning, who everybody thinks is a dog, and I think he probably proved that day he's not. So he hasn't been playing as well as everybody thought he should, but that's because everybody thought he was a Heisman Trophy winner before he was ready. But he's done a little better than people realize, and he hadn't had some help sometimes from his offensive line protection. Other than that, I thought some of them went the way I thought they would. I really thought Florida would play better at A&M. I still not sure Marcel Reed can take a football team to a national championship. But that the way they manhandled Florida inside with their running game, I was surprised and very impressed.
Yeah. Pete, and then then after that, I'm going to go back up to Dave and get 40,000-foot infrared view.
Let's start with the first game, Alabama at Missouri. Missouri gave them everything they wanted. Ty Simpson, he got beat up a little bit. That Missouri defense can get after you, but Simpson hung in there. Some great play calls. Some great play calls on offense. The fourth down call where the linebacker lets the guy release to the left corner of the end zone. And Simpson hangs in there with a free runner and throws it right to him. The first touchdown where they take Isaiah Horton, put him to like angle release, and then bring him back on the post. They're in a tight bunch right there, and Simpson just drives the football in there. Probula made some really good throws at the end, but the one thing I was disappointed in, when Alabama was getting pressure with their four-man line, Probula kept retreating and trying to run outside the tackles rather than let the rush go by you and step up at a 45 to the inside hip of that tackle. When you teach quarterbacks, you want them as they climb the pocket, come to a 45, whether it's left, whether it's right. Probula with his legs, I thought he could have done more damage if he would have taken the right angle. But for Alabama to go in there, get that win on the road, the black hoodie again. I mean, that's going to become a prop bet in Vegas for to see Kalen DeBoer wear that black hoodie the rest of the year. Alabama's defense really played well. And, you know, the question coming into the season was how they were going to handle the running quarterback. Obviously, losing to Castellanos and Florida State, there was still some question, but they got it done. And, you know, they got Tennessee next week. I mean, I'm like Ellis with Arch. Arch has been trying to get better every week. He hasn't had much support, but when he scrambled left and he turned his shoulders and threw that ball back inside with velocity and accuracy, it was like, wow, that was one of the wow throws. And then when they're in 3-by-1, I don't know what in the heck Oklahoma was, the free safety was doing. They don't communicate. And number 3 just runs a vertical, and he's wide open in the back of the end zone. And it's like, young man, you're keying 3-2 and 3-by-1. 3 goes vertical. You got to carry him. Yeah. Arch read it, put the ball on him. Then I thought the big run of the game was on the 3rd and 2, and Arch keeping it going to left and doing the smart thing, sliding. Yeah. Not letting the ball get punched out from behind. They win the game. Yeah. My question about the Texas-Oklahoma game, if all scoring plays are reviewable, why was that punt return not reviewed? Because there was a clear block in the back, right in front, or right about the 45-yard line. So if all scoring plays are reviewable, how do you miss that one? Yeah. Because from that point on, the body language changed. Yeah. I just thought that when you looked at Florida and A&M, Moss and that offensive line for A&M, they can wear you down. Yeah. And then they got Craver and Concepcion on the outside. Yeah. And then the defensive end. Now, that second half, they turn it up to 11 over there on defense at A&M. That was impressive, the way they pulled away from Florida. The Georgia-Auburn game, look, I know we're going to talk a lot about it. I know you already mentioned the referee's name, and I'm sure that he has been under duress.
God, all day I mean, I got to tell you, and watching, I've never seen a crowd of 90,000 people. I mean, it was like I have never seen that. It's like Auburn people. Dave, you saw a game. You were at the Oregon-Indiana game. I mean, Dave, take the ball and run with it, man. I want to hear you because Pete, this is incredible analysis. Ellis, Pete, Dave, God, I love this.
Well, how am I supposed to follow that up? I'm not an X's and O's guys, man. I don't watch film. I don't pretend to watch film. You know, so if we're talking Oregon,
that elk camera you have, you watch film. You just watch it of a different species.
Exactly. Yeah, but it doesn't tell me anything. Only what I can't shoot. Damn it. But I mean, if we're talking Oregon, Indiana, I think there's only one story here, and that is Kurt Cignetti is one bad mother effer.
Yeah,
that's it. There's nothing else. what he has done with James Madison and Indiana so far is unequivocally on paper. And hell, I could sit down with everybody listening and watching this right now and show you what he has done is unequivocally the most amazing run of head coaching that I have seen in my lifetime.
Wow. Wow.
Okay. I mean, and he's doing this with Indiana, a formerly good basketball school that still can't play basketball. I mean,
Yeah.
who's backing the truck up to this guy, right? I mean, does he? I hate to say it. Does he not even consider a Penn State? That's too below him, right? I mean, I want a top 10 brand. I want a top 10 recruiter. Can you imagine? Can you imagine a Signetti and all of his coaching prowess at an LSU, an Oklahoma? I mean, it's what he's doing right now is amazing. He has on paper, he's got the number one strength of record in college football right now. He's got a top 3 offensive scoring efficiency. He has top 10 defensive scoring efficiency. And if the playoffs started today, the playoff committee would make Indiana the number 1 team in the country.
Well, what's amazing, the roster, Coach Johnson, 0 5-stars on the Indiana roster, 6 4-stars, and the rest, somebody's done a great job of evaluating, Ellis.
Yeah, and developing.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of not a lot, but there's several coaches who have had some big time success at JMU. When Kurt left there to take that Indiana job, I thought that's not a good move. That's a money move. He's gone over there and just turned the place around, and he took a bunch of his players from JMU with him because they knew what his culture was, and he took them. Although they were 1AA players at the time, he took them because he knew they had his culture, and that's the way he's turned it around. And I still just have to sit there and read the numbers before I can believe it. I mean, we've all watched Indiana for 40 years, and there may have been 4 good football teams in those 40 years. I mean, it's amazing. And I'll say this, just the eye test, when you watch them play against Oregon, you keep thinking it's getting ready to explode, and these kids are not good enough athletes to make those plays, but they're making them on effort and discipline, and don't screw up a lot of stuff. They don't do stupid things. You don't ever see a lazy step on that football field. I mean, it's just that's how they're winning. They're not winning with talent.
Kurt is a lot like his dad. I knew his dad. His dad was the head coach at Indiana, University of Pennsylvania, and his dad had a steel workers mentality.
Yeah.
Hey, here we are. The only adjustment I'm making is with my chin strap because I'm gonna whip your ass. And Kurt and his brother Frank are of the same mindset. People don't know this about Kurt Signetti. He coached for Chuck Amato at NC State, and he coached Phillip Rivers, and he recruited Russell Wilson to NC State.
Wow.
And the guy has always been, I love Kurt and the way he develops quarterbacks. Everywhere he's been, he's had a productive quarterback. Now he goes through and he gets Mendoza to come in, and all that kid does is make great decisions and shows the toughness. But Signetti, he was on Nick's staff at Alabama, and he was pretty blunt with Nick, and he and Nick, let's just say it was oil and water, baby. It didn't mix a whole lot, and Nick didn't like being questioned, and Signetti didn't really give a rat's tail because that's the way his father is.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what, boys? I'm gonna flip you the bird and go. You don't like it? Here I go. And Sig is that way.
Yeah.
But guess what? He believes in his principles himself, and it carries over to his football team. And I'm like Ellis. At critical times when you think, somebody comes up with a play. When they got Dante Moore to throw the 2 interceptions there late, you could tell those kids, I mean, they're flying around and they are playing hard. But Signetti, I'm like Dave. And I sent you a text, Rob, the other night.
Mm-hmm.
If Auburn's going to make a change, back that truck up, baby. I think Sig's going to end up, if Florida makes a change, it's my understanding that Signetti's their number 1 guy in Gainesville. if they make a change. So I think
Wow.
Signetti's going to set the bar for a new payout with college coaches. I
Yeah.
think he's going to be the highest paid coach because of what Dave said, his track record at JMU and now at Indiana.
Yeah, Dave, thinking about that and looking at this big picture. And by the way, Dave, is there technology, you or Brendan can answer this, where you could put a laser tag, something on the tip of the football, so that if it goes over, crosses the plane, just like we have all this other stuff, there's a marker, there's a tracer, and there's no question that some ref who is, I don't know who he's working for, goes, well, that ball didn't go over there. No, it didn't get over there. And the call from the, Birmingham Country Club, hey, I'm telling you, people are so upset over what's been going on with the officiating. So what can we do about that, Dave? Foghorn Leghorn is coming on.
The first thing that I would recommend is you get some chill gummies and relax, dude. I mean, it's just football. Okay, you gotta let it go. All right. And sure they could put a chip in front of the football, but you know something? There's a great remedy to all of this. Don't fumble.
Yeah. That's
Don't
the
fumble.
key.
Plus, even if the ball's crossing the plane, was it moving? I mean, I looked at that thing like you did a dozen times, and it wasn't conclusive to me. I honestly thought the ball was moving out of his control before he crossed
Away
the
from it.
plane.
Yeah, it was.
You know, but on the flip side of that, good God, you want to talk about judgment calls? I mean, the judgment calls that came streaming in against Auburn, I even tweeted it out while I'm watching the game. And yes, I actually watched games this weekend, folks. I know, shocking. I even tweeted it out. I'm like, if Hugh Freeze wins this game, does he get double coach effect? Because he beat Georgia and the refs this weekend. Yeah. That touchdown one notwithstanding, that's just Jackson Arnold, not holding on to the football, the defense making a great play. And I'm not an X's and O's guys, but man, Jackson Arnold, dude, I watched that game because it was interesting and close. And I'm like, do you know where you're at, son?
Yeah.
It was not good quarterbacking. Hugh has not found a quarterback yet at Auburn at all.
Yeah. Well, Dave, to everybody here, what I'm just of this old school mentality, whatever you want to call it. I've heard this from every good coach. Like football is a 60-minute game. You cannot let the refs take it away from you on 2 or 3 plays here and there or at the last seconds. You got to get out there and play your ass off. And if you play the victim role as a head coach, that carries down to your damn team. And I've seen a lot of interviews with Auburn players that said, yeah, that affected our heads after the game. So look, yeah, the ball was wobbling. You're just hoping it was wobbling in touching part of his skin when it crossed the plane. But you're right. Don't fumble the ball. And Ellis, what would you have said to the team to avoid letting them? And hey, 42 yards of total offense in the second half, that doesn't help Auburn.
No, I thought protection was average. Of course, Georgia's gotten to a lot of teams with their pass rush. But I agree with Dave. The decision-making by Arnold was terrible as in consistency. Yeah. And he's just not a really good passer. No. He may be a good passer on the run and maybe a playmaker and sort of that. But, I mean, it's a shame with the receiver room they got. Yeah. Those kids are almost being wasted. And it's just a shame. And it's not only his fault. I mean, they're not really protecting that well. And Hugh and Gus Malzahn are a lot alike. They spend so much time in the running game because of all the eye candy and the motions and the timing up the shifts and all that. It takes a lot of practice time to run that style of running game. And you look up and you've spent about 10% of your practice on pass protection. So when you get an obvious passing situation on third and long, they don't really know what they're doing every time. Backs are not picking up the right guy, or either they're getting whipped. Maybe there's a bad step by an offensive lineman and may get the assignment right, but fundamentally, they can't protect the quarterback consistently in obvious throwing situations. And like I said, it's a shame because they got some kids out there in the receiver corps that could really burn some people, but they're not consistently getting them the ball.
You know, Rob, to go along with Ellis, when we were at Notre Dame our first 3 years, we didn't have a drop back pass in the playbook. We did not have a drop back pass. And here's why. We were a belly option play action team. We were a trap option, and then we were power run. And the only protection we had was turn back, where the right tackle would lock on, the guard would block down, and tailback could go through check one, the fullback could check the edge. I had 15 minutes of individual with the receivers while the quarterbacks went over and loosened up.
Yeah.
12 of the 15 was based stock block, crack block, stock block, crack block, arc, and then play action off it. When Al Davis came in to take Timmy Brown, I said, Mr. Davis, I said, Coach, Timmy's not going to be the best receiver in his first year and then when we go to the perimeter drill, we're pitching the football 15 out of 20 minutes. So we are spending an individual 12, 15, 27. Then we go to team, and 80% of team is run. And that's what Gus and Hugh do. Those receivers are blockers first. And then once you come off the RPO and do all that stuff, but you're not developing those receivers. And that's why when those kids get to the NFL, they're going to be breakout stars. But I got 3 things for you. The command center for the SEC is not in Birmingham. It's in Vegas. The second thing is, I agree with Dave. Take a chill pill. The second thing is, I'm watching Arnold's left hand, and his hand is moving away from his body as the ball's going forward. And if you're going over, you tell that guy, press the ball to your body so you don't get it punched out.
Yeah.
That's ball security for the quarterback. Jackson Arnold, go back and watch it. His hand was moving out, and there was there was space between his hand, the ball, and his body. Third thing, you asked Dave a great question. Is there a way you could put something in the ball where it crosses the tip? It's already in the ball. Wilson makes a ball with a chip in it that tests the revolutions when you throw it. We had it at Lipscomb Academy with the former coach at UAB, Trent Dilfer. Wilson sent us a dozen footballs with the chip in it. And that, because he was doing the Elite 11, you can measure the rotations and the velocity of the football through this tracking system. So there's already a chip in the ball. You have room for another chip. That's a great question, but it's already out there.
Yeah.
And we used it every day in practice. And the folks from Wilson, every Thursday, they wanted to report because we'd use it in practice Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
And they have studied this thing. But again, it's for revolutions and velocity. Yeah. I think you could put one in there that coincides with the goal line, but the goal line is going to have to light up to bright yellow or maybe bright orange, like for Auburn, because they got burned by it.
Yeah, I'm keep going back to that meme, Dave Bartoo, that you see about James Gandolfo and the Sopranos. You know, the replay room. What Tommy 2 times and Sides and all those guys in there going, hey, who's got the best chance to make the playoffs? Okay.
Santarelli's Deli in New Jersey. Hey, come on, over here, over there, over here.
How many of Ewans is coming in? That's Pennsylvania talk, isn't it, Pete? You know?
Yeah, that's Yuns. That's the Pittsburgh guys.
Yuns.
Yeah, the Yuns.
I love it, Yuns. And you go to Permane Brothers and get a sandwich in the warehouse district in Pittsburgh. That's Nirvana. Dave Bartoo, this is brilliant discussion. You're right. My wife she stayed behind with our daughter and granddaughter. I went down to the game with Billy Roberts, my roommate. And she said, she was even commenting about Jackson Arnold hitting the people's feet there at the end of the game. I tell you what, Dave, you look at quarterback play, look at offensive line play. Matt Stinchcomb was on the show a couple of weeks ago. Great offensive lineman at Georgia on SEC Network. I said, do you think maybe we don't have enough offensive linemen because of 7-on-7? He goes, yeah, it's pajama football. I mean, that's what we're doing. Oh, those 5 guys on the other side of the line of scrimmage, don't worry about them. But in a real game, they're going to try and take your head off. Dave, looking at big picture, you saw Oregon go down in person, and they've got a loaded roster. What are your thoughts on what's happening? The coaching jobs being done. There we go. The coaching jobs being done right now in college football. And what do you think is the trend in coaching?
The trend in coaching, if I've been standing here and listening to everybody, and I've been saying this for years once the pay for play opened up, is I felt that college football, elite college football, was dead. It's gone. Okay. We're going to get inconsistency. We are going to get quarterback play that is not as good as it used to be. We're going to get offensive line play that's not as good as it used to be. Defenses aren't going to, there's no continuity anymore, and so these coaches are having to survive in an era in which their roster is getting turned over 20 to 40% every year. And we want to blame the coaches. We want to, blame James Franklin. We want to blame Venables. We want to blame these guys. We want to blame Hugh Freeze for these massive turnovers and these veteran coaches in some cases that are still trying to get their footing in this new world of paying the players. And with the paying the players, they move around. There's less continuity. There's also the psychology of, look, I don't have to try as hard. I don't have to work as hard. If I don't like it here, I'll go get paid somebody else. If they're good enough, they're going to get, I mean, look at Jeff Sims is on his 18th year. He was, starting for Arizona State this weekend, right? I mean, he'll make more money in his career as a backup quarterback in college. So I think the theme is simply that the quality of football is far worse in all aspects, and that being a coach in this is, in my opinion, much tougher under probably more difficult scrutiny with all of the moving around than ever before.
Well, what I say about Kirby Smart is, I really like him. If I was a coach, my personality would be like a Peter and Ellis, or Boom, Will Muschamp, or Kirby. Get after their ass, play the full 60. Georgia, it's not a pretty sight to see them play. But they've won 2 road games at Tennessee and at Auburn that easily could have gotten away from them. But I always was told by people that Jeremy Pruitt was great at adjusting in real time as a defensive coordinator. Kirby was better at halftime. Well, I mean, Kirby proved that. The defense, and you call him an elite coordinator, the best in the last 15 years. Auburn, you got to get better than 42 yards of offense. You got to give Georgia credit because they didn't lay down and die. So, Dave, that is I go back and watch all these shows like coaches and y'all do, watch and just listen to what you hear because sometimes it's going fast. But that is right. It's Coach Johnson, the era of inconsistency. And I think the only way to remedy that is to be as tough as you can be and get everything you can out of them instead of waiting on them to develop because they're probably not going to hang around as much as they used to.
No, they're not. And I've said it many times. The NIL stuff doesn't bother me. That's been going on for about 60 years. They didn't call it NIL when I coached it, but we won't say what they called it. But money's always been there. Okay. And when you got kids that don't have money and you got boosters that got money and they want the kids, you're going to have that happen, whether it's the legal rule with NIL or whether it's the way it used to happen. The portal is ruining college football. And I think we're going to find out in about 5 or 10 years, it's damaging kids. You're going to see kids get to the NFL, and NFL coaches are going to find a bunch of kids that can't focus, they can't commit, they can't stay on a damn tough situation long enough to see it through, because they're used to just walking away. And I think the money kind of pours a little gasoline on the tampering and everything, but the money's always been involved in it, and it always will be, as long as kids ain't got any money. and there's a bunch of big, rich boosters that want their football team to win. But they got to do something about this damn portal. It's hurting kids. They don't think it is, but they'll find out later on it's hurting the kids and it's hurting the teams.
Well, and Pete, what I would give, because, Dave and Brendan, all of us, to have a coach like you or Ellis rip your ass. I mean, that's just what we grew up with. And also we got it from me with my mother. My dad was as laid back as Willie Nelson on Valium. But you've got to have a sense of urgency. Dave nailed it. It's like having Bob Newhart in the room. It's inconsistency. And how do you develop continuity if guys are just coming and going and really they've been coddled is what's happened, Pete?
Rob, I'm going to say this. The transfer portal, the kids aren't bothered by it. And let me tell you why. We've had kids being recruited by other schools since they've been in 7th grade. In South Florida, you look at rosters and they change. And when you recruit Dayton, Broward County, there is 93 schools that play football in those two counties. And then you got Pahokee, then you got Glades. Those kids move around. So they've grown up knowing that in Memphis they do it for basketball. Memphis does it for football.
Yes.
Nashville, I've seen it here in Nashville. A kid, they're out scouting flag football and youth league football with these guys and so all of a sudden the kid's at one school, he goes to another. Now it's not the numbers, the mass of 15, 20. I laugh at these guys that say, well, we brought in 70 new players. Guess what? You can only play 11 on one side of the ball and you can only play 11 on the other side of the ball. That isn't a badge of honor or badge of courage, bringing in 70 new players. That's not very good. That's not smart. You got to have balance in building your roster like you have to have balance in your offense and your defense. But kids have been being recruited since the 7th grade to go. So that's not a big deal for the kids. Where it's a big deal, it's like Ellis said, they're getting paid.
Yeah.
But they're getting paid more money now. How do you keep them hungry? We used to always say, here's the standard. Tuesday, if it's not good enough, we're going back to 0. Piss on that NCAA rule that says, well, you can only practice. Guess what? We're going to, some people used to call it the dark period. Start over, run it again. You don't have that going on where you can teach kids it's not acceptable to have all these damn penalties.
Yeah.
They're free yardage. You're giving up. Discipline is not there anymore. And the kids that don't like disciplines, like Ellis said, they leave because, hey, man, nobody's ever talked to me like that. I can't tell you how many kids have said, Coach, I said, what's the matter? You don't like me. I said, what do you mean I don't like you? You raised your voice at me. You yelled. I said, son, I asked you to do it right for 3 times. I got to do something to get your attention. And the last thing I'm going to do is put my hands on you. But, man, yeah, I'm loud. But it's to get my point across.
Yeah.
And this goes back to how soft kids are being raised today for the most part.
Yeah. And I can tell you, having gone to Christian Brothers High School, been in Memphis since 1871, I wouldn't swap what I went through for all the money in the world, because I knew those teachers cared about me, Brother Adrian, Brother Stephen, and sometimes they would, boy, but I'm going to tell you what, you knew what their commitment was. Dave, you were raising your hand. It's like class.
No, it reminds me when I do that, it's like, okay, I got something to say about this for the listeners, and this is a kind of a little nugget of wisdom inside the numbers that I started passing on to assistant NFL GMs years ago. And I took it and I started passing it on to director player personnel and GMs in college as well. And there's something inside the numbers about transfers that's very, very important. Okay. And I probably mentioned this on the show before, but I'm old, so I'm going to repeat myself, just like everybody else on this show. When a player transfers up or down, Okay. If the player's good enough to go from Georgia State to Georgia Tech, Georgia State to Georgia, okay, that's a transfer up. The player that can't hack it at Georgia that transfers down, okay, that's a transfer up, transfer down. At the NFL level, to date, guys that have on their resume in college a transfer down that are drafted, okay, they end up starting per player 750%, rounded up from 743%. So 750%, they start 750% fewer games per player than the guy that has a transfer up. Okay. So that is, to me, if I'm a GM in the NFL, a guy that has a transfer down, he's off my board. Okay. That guy can't make it. He doesn't have the mental stamina to get it done. Okay. So on the collegiate level, coach made a great point about all these guys. They're used to transferring around. And I tell this to college GMs and director player personnel all the time too. See where they transfer to. If they're transferring up, okay, they're transferring up in level 2A to 3A to 4A to 5A, and they're moving up because they're so damn good mentally and physically. Look for those guys. The guy that is at a 6A school that transfers somewhere else because he can't start, transfers somewhere else because he really doesn't have the overall mental capacity to compete. Stay away from the transfers down. That's the rule of thumb. Transfer up, transfer down. You got to look at that. It helps with the subjectivity. And yeah, you're going to maybe miss on a few guys, but you're not going to waste your time on a bunch of them that don't have it right here to begin with. You can't train this. It's there before they get into your program.
Brilliant.
Rob, going back to and to Dave's point, in South Florida, if you go to a public school, you have to pass what they call the FCAT to graduate from a public high school in Florida. I went to a high school one day and the students are walking out, and I said to somebody, "What's going on? You got a fire drill?" They said, "No, our valedictorian just found out he's not going to graduate." In Florida, if you go to a private school, you don't have to take the FCAT. So when a kid's in 9th and 10th grade and he's not doing well in his classes at the public school, guess where he's going? Private school. And that's why Plantation Heritage, St. Thomas Aquinas, those private schools, you don't have to pass the FCAT to graduate in South Florida or in the state of Florida, excuse me. So as a junior, I'd go watch a kid in spring practice, and then I go back in the fall. It's like, where did Jimmy Joe go? And they're like, "Coach, he transferred to Christopher Columbus or some private school." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" "Well, he wasn't doing great academically, so he doesn't have to take the FCAT to try to graduate." I mean, people have been scamming this system for a long time, brother.
Yeah, well, we remember it in Memphis. There was a school in, which shall remain nameless, across the DeSoto County line, and guys would be pulled over for a speeding ticket and couldn't come up with the address. And but I digress. But
That happened. That happened on the kids' way from Memphis to Olive Branch.
Hey!
Stain Line Road, and the guys at Olive Branch said, "Oh, he was just spending the night with his mom, who's divorced and living in Memphis." And they asked the kid, "Where do you live?" He said, "I live in Memphis, but I go to school at Olive Branch."
Yeah.
So the cops had to get involved. That would.
Yeah.
Oh boy!
Don't even get me started.
I
tell you what,
it's still going on. It don't matter. South Haven, Olive Branch, it doesn't matter.
It's insane. Hey, let me read some of these comments, man. I like it. Okay, Kelly Leak, smart guy. Yes, and amazingly, they say every play with all the money in the SEC, you'd think it would be better. That's why folks say it's fixed. Not sure about that, but bad calls made. It's not all SEC fans, but most feel like the officiating is atrocious. And Bama said, and has been said, Bama was NIL. Well, all that being said, and I love these comments from our viewers. We all know that shenanigans and tomfoolery, I love these old words, have been going on for a long time. But looking at the SEC right now, in this conference, we got big games coming up this weekend. Alabama is playing Tennessee. That's in Tuscaloosa. We've got Arkansas, Texas A&M, Auburn hosting Missouri, Florida hosting Mississippi State, Georgia hosting Ole Miss, Kentucky hosting Texas. Wow. LSU hosting Vanderbilt. And so you go down the list, and it's just the other half. I'm trying not to leave anybody out, but Oklahoma and South Carolina. What a weekend. I mean, this is full blown conference games. The league, guys, the Big Ten, the SEC, the ACC, the Big 12, the American Conference, the Sun Belt. Who really, guys? Somebody come up here and tell me, is there any league where all the football is just better than it was last year? Can anybody make a case for that, Ellis? I mean, from what you've seen, because this SEC, it's getting like Dave and Pete and you all have said, it's getting like the NFL. It's every weekend, It's wide open.
Well, one thing, just from the mathematical standpoint of it, the standings and who's going to get in the playoff, who's going to win the SEC, the team that's really in a precarious situation in this situation is Texas, because they've already got 2 losses.
Yeah.
And if they have got to win out, or either they got to win the SEC, or they might not get in. But they've got 2 losses already, and only one of them's a conference loss. But they're playing well enough that you say, well, they're not going to have a problem. But numerically, they better watch it. They're going to be on the outside looking in, and right now they look like one of the best teams in America. But the other thing is, it's getting to where there's a lot of wounded dogs in the league right now.
Yeah.
Already got 1 loss, and they're really, really good teams. And I think that you're going to see a crazy finish with all these tied situations. And there's only 3. You see right there what Brendan put up. There are only 3 undefeated teams in the conference. There are only 2, I think, when you look at it overall. So it's going to be a really, I think, more chaotic situation finishing out than we've ever seen before in the conference.
Yeah, and Pete, I'm sticking by, which I can't change it because I made the prediction. I don't know what the background noise, I don't know if that was me or what, but Pete, I predicted Georgia to play Alabama in Atlanta. And maybe the people in Vegas, or wherever the SEC, officiating is, have taken that to heart, because it looks like that might very well happen. Of course, Ole Miss is going to have a lot to say about that. So is Texas A&M. Pete, Ole Miss goes to Georgia Saturday. Now, Lane Kiffin's record, and Dave looks at these numbers, and man, they are everything. His record against top 5, top 10 teams isn't the best. It wasn't like as bad as James Franklin's was, but what do you think happens over in Athens?
Oh, that's because James Franklin was there 12 years. Lane hasn't been there quite as long, and that has something to do with it. But I was absolutely shocked at how bad Ole Miss played against Washington State.
Yeah.
That was unbelievable. I got to believe, knowing Lane, they've been working on Georgia last week, trying to get ready for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there are some coaches I've run across in my past. I think Ellis may have too. Oh, it's just Washington State. But we got to put a period in here to work on Georgia. We got to put and all of a sudden the players, one group you don't fool are the players, man.
Yeah.
They're here in Georgia in 2 weeks and they're going, Washington State coming from, and Lane has made, the Pac-2 or whatever. He's made some comments. Those players understand that. They had no more focus on Washington State than a man in the moon. Trinidad Chambliss, that was as bad as he's played all year.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you, Washington State got after him pretty good.
Yep.
I think Georgia at home, Kirby's been looking at this. They're going to find a way to win it. But again, I think it's going to be in a close one. We were looking at the numbers. I looked this up last night. There are 10 undefeated teams at 6-0 in the country right now, and 1 at 5-0. Miami's 5-0. Navy, Memphis, Georgia Tech, BYU with a heck of a win in overtime. Bear Bachmeyer the other night. Texas Tech, who nobody's talking about, with that David Bailey coming from Stanford, is just tearing it up in the Big 12. Indiana, Ohio State, UNLV, Dan Mullen getting it done, Ole Miss and A&M. Those are the 10 at 6-0 that are bowl eligible.
Yeah.
Miami's at 5-0. And so I'm like Ellis. There are a bunch of one-loss teams just licking their chops. But as we go on, is the SEC going to get somebody in with 3 losses?
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Because you may have the SEC 2 teams playing in the championship game that have 2 losses each.
Correct. Dave Bartoo, I got to ask you something following up on what Pete just said. Dan Mullen getting her done, as they say down here in the South and all over the country, really. Would Dan Mullen be a fit at Arkansas?
Oh, sure he would. I mean, come on, he's got SEC ties. He knows the SEC culture. He knows the SEC boosters. He would be a fit at Arkansas, absolutely. And he's done a great job at UNLV. I'm actually honestly straight up when you look at the numbers and the roster churn. I think he's done an excellent job offensively and defensively. So yeah, he would certainly fit if he wants to go there. And like I've always said, once you're a head coach, most of these guys want to keep head coaching. And Arkansas is a great paycheck to go to win 20 games over the next 4 years.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to try to do something. I'm not sure it's ever been done before. I'm going to try to clap like Kirby was doing the other night. Is that how you do it? I mean, what was going on with it? That was, I mean, I don't know what's going on. The clapper. Remember the clapper? It used to turn the lights off and you were laying in bed. But I'm loving this stuff. Kirby, the clapper. Why are the refs scared of Kirby? I see every SEC team having at least one loss. Doggone great show today, Jeff Boone. Thank you. But dadgummit, and Jeff is a good friend of mine. He's my hunting club. Love the guy. He's a diehard dog fan, but God dang it, he's objective and he's fair. You know, I mean, Georgia won the game because they didn't feel sorry for themselves. They don't get down. And Dave, what you just said, coaches love to keep coaching. And you know what? Kirby he's going to do it. And when he can't be himself anymore, he will. He'll just go do something else, and he'll never hurt for money. But
speaking of SEC coaches, I got a little nugget for you, though. I got a nugget for you with the James Franklin, which we haven't touched on. Obviously, it's Big Ten, but the guy I think in the SEC that is going to benefit the most out of James Franklin getting fired, Mike Elko.
Really,
Mike Elko is going to get paid because right now, when you look at his pay relative to the rest of the SEC coaches, it ain't up there. Guess who is a Pennsylvania native? Mike Elko. Yeah. And Mike Elko has won at A&M. Mike Elko has won at Duke. If I'm Penn State, that guy's in my top 3 on the board. And if I can't get him, A&M's going to pay. I think Mike Elko is going to be a big winner in the firing of James Franklin out of the SEC.
Mike Elko went to the University of Pennsylvania. And he's got strong Northeast ties. But I'm like you, Dave. I think A&M's going to pony up. You know, if Marcus Freeman hadn't accepted the Notre Dame job, the next guy they were going to was Mike Elko because he was the defensive coordinator there at one time.
You mean Marcus Freeman?
If Marcus Freeman had not taken the Notre Dame job, the next guy they were going to was Mike Elko.
Okay.
But that's a great point, Dave. Yeah, Elko went to the University of Pennsylvania. And so he's got strong Northeast ties.
Well, Ellis, looking around here, man, I love these comments. And I mean, the comments are awesome. I mean, and we're free speech, you know. And by the way, those lights out gummies, took up one last night, got off the road, man. Pinched the nerve sleeping on an uncomfortable pillow down there at the daughter's house. My lawyer will call you. Okay. No, I was just, man, it is so sore. It took that lights out gummy. Slept for about 7 hours, man. Just, man, what great dreams I had. I had dreams of calling a timeout. No, but anyway,
Ellis, are you dreaming of being the next head coach at Auburn?
Hey, give me 5 minutes, sign the contract, and then fire me with the buyout. When I was a kid, I was like everybody else. I wanted to be a cop, a fireman, or a garbage man. Now, if you're a kid, you want to be a coach and get fired without cause, of course. You don't want to, but hey, 20, 30 million, you can buy some drinks down on 38. You can
Do
do
you
that.
still have Brian Harson's agent on speed dial?
Woo! I'm telling you what, that one that's still just it gives me PTSD. Ellis, I love this round table, folks, and our executive producer Brendan Martin pulling up these videos and all the graphics, the schedules. It's incredible. Ellis, look, I want to ask you, stepping outside the SEC, because Atlanta feeds the SEC. And you got Georgia Tech, Brent Key doing a hell of a job there. I mean, if you're a kid and you stick it out at Georgia Tech, you got to pass calculus your freshman year. But if you stick it out and you want to hang around Atlanta with a Georgia Tech degree or anywhere, that's why you don't want to hit that portal button, man. You can make a living with your hands. You can make millions with your mind. Graduate.
Yeah, I think he's done a great job. He's a perfect fit, former player. And I can sort of see his former coach. He had Ralph Friedman was a coordinator, and I think he kind of has that personality. Wow. But he loves his school. Yeah. He probably won't be there but about another year or two, but he loves his school, and you can just see his players. They reflect him, what he believes in and so forth. Yeah. So, yeah, he's done a great job, man.
Dave, when you look around right now, SEC schools, people are saying you got to make a move now because you've got December signing period. That's got to be hard on both ends. The coach that knows he's walking the green mile potentially, and then the one they're going after. It's like, driving home from work, going by your old haunts, all the old bars you go to, and you're trying to stop doing that.
Yeah, but it's still live by the sword, die by the sword. So many fans are recency bias. 2 weeks ago, Texas sucked. Now they're a national championship contender. James Franklin is a great coach, and now he's fired. I'm like, you can't, this whole rinse, dry, wash, repeat cycle, you can't keep doing it to your program, hoping to find something in 2 years. When you fire a guy, you're pretty much 2 years out right off the get. You're losing your entire roster. You're bringing in one. You don't know what you got, So, the fans or an AD that you got to give it 3-4 plus years, no matter how bad it is, because you start falling into this cycle of, well, this isn't the program. This isn't how we won before. Nobody is where they were before. Nick Saban retired because he couldn't be old Nick Saban. The new rules, he didn't like new Nick Saban. That's how hard it is, folks. So, to compare yourself to what we used to do, I mean, it's always kind of dumb, but it's really stupid now, especially in the SEC. You start getting into, this is what we used to do when you have 9 SEC games. Stop it.
Yeah,
it's getting worse. It's going to get worse when you go to 9.
Yeah. That window is closed. That window is closed. The good old days are gone. They are not coming back. There's no coach. There's no situation that's going to save you in that regard. So I think you got to be really careful in terms of not falling into the trap of trying to find that perfect guy in a system that is in constant churn already.
Yeah, and we're talking about some of these coaches that everybody wants fired. They've got $60 million, $30 million, $40 million payoffs. 2 weeks later, your team's getting beat and embarrassed. And you're damn talking about signing another guy to bring him in there and give him a 5-year contract with 3 years guaranteed. Yeah. It's like a drug. They just can't stop.
I'm going to bring up
Billy. You know what, Coach? I never heard of a guy back when we were in coaching, a head coach getting a 10-year contract. What caused ADs to agree to a 10-year contract? 5, maybe 6, to go along with Dave said. So it gives you at least 3. If you have a 6-year contract, at least the first 3, you got a chance to go. Who in the world came up with this 10-year deal? Yeah. And no, I know who did. The agent.
Give me 6.
Yeah, Charlie Weiss got it at Notre Dame. Remember, he got the 10-year lifetime contract.
Big Deluxe, Jimmy, as they call him, the Big Deluxe. So Big Deluxe got the 10. But what athletic director in his right mind would agree to that? It's like James Franklin. Rob, Friday before they played Northwestern, 2 kids that they had committed at Penn State canceled their visit.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about 2 big-time guys.
Yeah.
The running back now is going to go to Notre Dame next weekend to visit with Southern Cal coming in. The wide receiver, it's my understanding he may be going to Ohio State to visit. So the recruiting was starting to fall apart. But another name to look for at Penn State, Matt Rule.
Yep. Hey, well, let me say real quick, Dave, shed some light about Billy Napier and Florida, the situation. The standard there, Steve Spurrier, Urban Meyer. Athletic did a great story in the last week about why it's so tough. You've got a lot of resources there. What do you think happens?
Well, look at those 2 guys you just named. Okay, let's start with that. And let's look at Florida's entire history of recruiting. Okay, Steve Spurrier, I'm pretty comfortable arguing that he was almost too smart for football. From the standpoint that there's probably nobody that I would pick to give 22 guys to go try to win a game without ever talking to them, without ever planning. The guy was just a football genius, right? If you can put that on, I mean, it's just football, so but he was amazing, right? And then Urban Meyer got recruiting concessions that no other Florida coach has ever gotten. Huge recruiting concessions, huge, and that put Florida up to national championship level recruiting. They were never there before that without Steve, and they haven't been there since. Florida is a habitual 11 to 15 range recruiter. Only one team, Dabo, Clemson, with Deshaun Watson, has been outside the top 10 in recruiting and won a national championship this century. So when you compare Florida to Urban Meyer, when you compare Florida to Steve Spurrier, it's apples to oranges with Urban Meyer, and you're comparing yourself to one of the greatest football minds in the world in Steve Spurrier. Florida has, and like a lot of programs, you live off of one thing happening and you think that's going to repeat. And it's very, very difficult at Florida and a lot of these second-tier recruiters. Ole Miss, Tennessee, Texas A&M. These are all these tweener programs that have championship dreams, but have never really had that championship talent except for a tiny, tiny window in their history, and they think they're going to get back to it. So I think with Florida, it's just that's who you are. And unless you change your recruiting concessions like you did for Urban to let the floodgates open and not review any players, you're a tier 2 level talent in the SEC.
Well, hey, look, Brendan has given the signal we can go a few extra minutes, extra innings today. Great show. God almighty, look at these comments. Thank you. First off, thank you so much, everybody watching. We're blessed. Thank you more than you know. It's what my friend Mary always says, and that's true. Incredible knowledge. Ellis Johnson, Pete Cordelli, Dave Bartoo, executive producer Brendan Martin, making all this happen. And Ellis, speaking of what he said about Florida, that standard, it is so hard. It's like someone taking over a family business. You're always compared, there's portraits of all the founders, that's my great grandfather. And they're all the portraits. And here you come along. We all saw the movie Tommy Boy. Even the great grandmother looked like one of the men. It was quite a family of lookers. But Ellis, talk about you've coached with Steve Spurrier for 4 years as his defensive coordinator. How cool was that?
Well, I coached against him for several years, and every time he had an opening, I kept trying to get over there. It was my hometown too, but so anyhow, it was so damn hard to coach against him. You felt like there were a lot of coordinators that made good adjustments when they got their offense to the bench, and then what came back out the next series and they got something for you. And then there were some other really good ones, and they'd take them in at halftime. They come back out and they got something for you, and you better be ready. With Steve, if you stop him on one play, the next play, he's got something for you, and you better be ready and able to handle it. He's just so difficult from the standpoint of trying to call a game against him.
Yeah.
And then when I got over there, that's why I realized it was so difficult. I mean, he really is. He's either a genius or he's at least got a photographic memory, and he can watch film and never run a damn playback, and he's got it up there. And when he's on the sideline, he's not reading a play sheet and got some Pete said, they got some guy running up behind him with a book saying, this is the analytics say this. And he just really was. I mean, he was different, man. And he handled players well. He made a lot of things that other coaches made real complicated and real difficult. He made them look easy. He didn't work as many hours, and everybody would say, "Oh, yeah, he's on the golf course too much. Oh, yeah, he's lazy. He doesn't work." Oh, he's got plenty of energy. Trust me. He just doesn't sit over there in the office and try to say I'm keeping up with the Joneses. Yeah. But it was one of the best experiences in my coaching career, and I coached for some great people. I mean, Sylvester Kroom and some of these guys. I mean, they were fantastic. But Steve was different. And I sort of said what Dave said a while ago. He's 100% on target about Florida. We were on the other day. I mean, it could have been a year ago, but we were all talking about it. And I said, if you go back through their history, they don't have a period of domination in their football program except when Steve was there, and then a little bit less longer when Urban was there. And other times they've had some flashes and some good teams, but they've never been continuously a big winner. But I know one other guy worked with, Jeff Rousey, was our linebacker coach at Alabama. And he used to tell a lot of stories because he was a young coach, played for Bear, and he was a young coach on his staff. And he told about a story. I think actually Logan was on the plane with him, but they were down in Florida recruiting. And Coach Jeff was from Florida, and he handled a lot of Florida recruiting. And he said, Coach got on the plane one day after visiting the kid. He said, Rousey, he said, we better hope they never get this place going, because if they do, we're going to have a hell to handle. We might not can handle these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, the talent down there is what he was talking about. But yeah, Dave's right on target, man.
Yeah.
If you take Steve Spurrier out of it and you take some of the stuff that went on when Urban was there and kind of put it in perspective, Florida does not have a great tradition.
Well, it's like that with a lot of schools. You could probably say, I mean, Alabama, if you take away the Bear and Saban, that's 42 years, but you can't. But what I've always said, I agree that if Florida gets it together, they're hard to beat. And now they've had such a flux of finding a president down there. And Brendan's right about that. You got to have, interim presidents, transitional periods. You got to have those alpha males in the room, somebody calling the shots. And I think, what you just said, this is powerful stuff about Steve Spurrier, about certain programs when they get it together. Pete, you look at college football right now. Here's what's Mizzou fan. Welcome aboard, Mizzou fan. I love them. By the way, that stadium, Faurot Field, what they're doing in the end zones, good. It's going to be over 80,000. They are putting into the brick and mortar. And Yan Cowart is our good friend down in Fairhope, Alabama, architect. He's our expert on the arms race and facilities. Well, it's happening somewhere. That's probably, I don't know who's building that, but sad to say college football is getting more like NFL. It's about which team can Vegas make most money off of. And I don't know if sports betting, my kids will tell me I'm betting on the coin toss. I'm betting on who's going to sprain an ankle first. I mean, there's a bet for everything. But Pete, looking at what's happening in college football right now in the SEC, do you see a national champion coming out of this league from what? And you have to compare it to the rest of the country.
I do. And again, the one thing coaches and players don't control is injury.
Yeah.
If Alabama stays healthy and that defense continues to get better, I think Alabama's got a chance. Just with Ryan Grubb, the way he's calling the offense and Ty Simpson's fitting in, getting Jam Miller back was big. The offensive line is playing better, or else you could just hand it to Caden Proctor, and let him run the ball at 340 pounds. It was amazing. I was shocked he didn't get in, but defensively, they've got to get better. I can see Alabama and A&M in Atlanta for the SEC championship, and I can see Alabama making a run at the end of the year. But right now, the Big Ten, they're pretty stacked. They're playing well. The Big 12, I think Texas Tech has a chance to come out of that, but you never know because the quarterback's been in and out. He's been hurt,
Yeah.
But when you get into the playoffs, I don't know if a Big 12 team can make a run at it. But I see, Alabama, Ohio State, possibly Indiana, obviously. I don't know if Notre Dame has USC this Saturday night, and that's going to be a big one. But Ellis, I'm going to have to call you after the show because I got to tell you, I miss Logan.
I do too. I mean,
let me tell you, I used to spend so many hours when I lived in Memphis with him and my brother-in-law, and we're going to have to talk after the show because, man, oh man, but I miss Logan. And,
yeah, we all do. And I'm
Coach
friends.
Bryant knew that as long as Logan was on the plane, Florida wasn't going to break.
I'll talk to you as long as I'm not under oath. Okay.
That makes two of us, man. That makes two of us.
And one thing is cool is his son's a friend of mine. I love him, Logan 3, and that you cannot get better than these stories about college football. And Dave, what we're talking about right now, Pete just gave a really good look around the country. Let's get your take, and I think it's important that college football is a big deal all over the country. One of the things I want to do before my 100th birthday is go to Laramie, Wyoming, and go to the University of Wyoming high altitude performance center. It's like 7,300 feet where they study athletes and the effect of altitude on athletes. By the way, if you want to make a good bet and make some money early in September, the beginning of the season, always take a team from the deep South playing at Wyoming early. Remember they beat Missouri in Laramie in 2019. That was crazy, but Missouri now, you don't want to bring Missouri to come. But Dave, what are your thoughts on kind of throwing into this? Is great stuff.
It's just let you know I'm on a tight schedule. I'm going to drop it here.
I was going to say, I figured
something. It's wild. I said at the beginning of the season, this is going to be the craziest season we've ever had because of the portal. I think the national champion might be the biggest outlier we've ever seen, and it's a battle of attrition right now. We might get a 3-loss team in the playoffs, which I think it's going to be boring. The more losses you have going into the playoffs, to me it loses interest. I want 12-1. I want 11-2. I want teams that haven't lost a lot of games, but I still think the cream rises at the top in the end. And like we have for the last 25 years, bet the better recruiters. Bet your Ohio State, bet your Oregon, bet your Georgia, bet your Miami, bet your Alabama. Those are 5 top 10 recruiters that are all top 25 in offense and defensive scoring efficiency right now. So, until something changes long term, I'm sticking with the talent as long as the talent works hard.
Rob, I want to say, I'm sorry. Kirby had a press conference yesterday, and he was as blunt as ever. He said, the one thing that concerns me about our football team is we're not explosive enough on offense. We're not hitting the explosive plays. And he's right. I mean, he's got the Humphreys kid catching the ball. Branch hasn't really taken the top off. Yeah. And Gunnar Stockton's not that guy. I'll tell you who is the guy. The kid coming from Nashville Christian next year, Jared Curtis. He is a big time dude, man.
Yeah.
And Georgia's offense will be very explosive next year. But I was surprised at how blunt Kirby was yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah. And Dave, thank you. I know Dave's got a tight schedule. Dave Bartoo, College Football Matrix, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. We went a little bit long. And I want to say, and I'm going to come back with some comments, but Landers Ford, Poplar, and Houston Levy, where Germantown and Collierville meet, they're open every day of the week except Sunday, 7 a.m., 7 p.m. Ask for the general manager, Brad Bellamy. They'll get you in a new Bronco. You can also get those F-150 trucks, the 250s, the King Ranch. They got the Ford Escape, the Expeditions, the Explorers, and they will bring you round trip on the service side. Pick you up at home or your office, take you back in. Great stuff out there. The best people, Landers Ford. And you'll see them at the Touchdown Club tonight, where we will have Rich Clark, Executive Director of the College Football Playoff Committee, right down the street from our good friends also at Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. Boxes coming in every day. Barber, Duckhead, Filson, the Ariat, the Wrangler, the boots, over 7,000 pairs of men's and women's boots. And they also restore boots. If you want your boots to be restored or cleaned up, they make them look good as new. Open every day of the week except Sunday. HewlettandDunn.com. You won't find better clothes and boots for men, women, and the kids anywhere. And Rumble Boxing at Union and McLean. How you fight is how you live. Better work out. You know what? You'll catch up on your sleep when you're dead. Get out there, work out, engage both sides of your brain. Rumble Boxing, open every day of the week. Union and McLean, the boxing classes, 45 minutes. Weights, they've got 250-pound punching bags you hit. You will love. You're having a rough day? Go to Rumble Boxing, man. Take it out on that big bag. Before we wrap up, guys, great conversation today. Man, I don't know if I've ever seen this many comments coming in. It's kind of like it's gonna explode. But this is what I love. There's tremendous interest. Ellis, Pete, y'all's knowledge of football, what you share with us, and you're right. It's the history, the traditions, and the heroes. You can't get any better than this. And also freedom of speech on this show. We're not afraid to tell what we think. Pete already getting the Georgia fans excited about this quarterback coming in next year. That's going to be fun. But I mean, you know the kids, Pete. I mean, look, I've got this book right here, Making the Grade. This Ellis, we got to get you to do one. This is the checklist. Pete looks at a running back, like 20 things that you look at. And
I'm gonna send that to you, Coach. See what you think.
Yeah. And get Ellis and Pete. The reason we love college football is the coaches like y'all that have made us love it, because you've had teams perform because you work so hard. So first off, thank you all both so much for being on here with us today. We'll do it again next week. Two of the absolute best in the business. Y'all have a good day, and I may even have to join you on that conversation after the show. So we'll have some fun. Y'all take care. Hey, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. We are the most blessed people in the greatest country in the history of the world. So today, when you're out and about doing your thing, find ways you can help other people. Like my friend up in Nashville, people loving Nashville, going out on the streets. There's places like that. And if you want to find out about it, we're going to tell you a lot more about it going forward on this show. But for executive producer, Brendan Martin, the best in the business, Rob Brown, stay tuned to this channel. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for watching.